Let's go to number 2 here. Look, I know it's going to be your number 2, so let's get to your number 2 here. It was going to be my number 2 too.
Okay.
Ben Arbuckle, the OC at Oklahoma. Joe, this is the thing when we talk about OC and OC hires. There's no bigger swing and miss than this one because Oklahoma had a problem on offense. I do not believe that Ben Arbuckle is going to be able to come in there and fix everything. That O-line is still very much a question mark. But it's a very good hire based off of what he did, and bringing in John Mateer is a big deal. So Ben Arbuckle to Oklahoma, your thoughts?
Last year at Washington State, I don't think enough people, anyone who was against this, by the way, I think that they don't know ball. They weren't paying attention to what was happening in the Pac-12. Wazoo was a good program for a good stretch last year. They had a really strong finish to the year. John Mateer, who we've talked a lot about, you're already bringing him into the mix. So we know there's a proof of concept for both sides, your quarterback, your new OC, both sides of how they're going to look. We just don't know what it's going to look like in the SEC. But some of the key things that come into factor here, they were 15th in points per game. They were number 1 in completion percentage, which shows that the decision-making, setting up a first-year starter in Mateer to play the way that he did was fantastic. They were 3rd in the country in yards per pass, and then they ended up finishing the year 23rd in pass yards per game. Oklahoma, at its most successful, has had extremely potent passing offenses. I can't think of a better hire, not only for what they needed in the current moment, needing an injection of life, but for the identity of what this program has been. And on top of this, for them needing, and the Oklahoma needing, an underrated young head coach that is going to bring energy, offensive coordinator that is going to bring the energy for this offense to take a total 180. Why are you shaking your head at that?
Because because I agree with everything that you said, but then I get to the reality piece in my brain, that goes to the fact that their O-line might still suck. And none of that at Washington State matters. So here's where I am at the current moment. I'm in a prism. Because I love the hire. I love the quarterback that you bring in. I agree with everything that you just said, and even you bring in the statistics to back it up. Completion percentage, yards per pass, like all of that stuff. I'm like, shit, this dude can call plays. Then I get to the realistic piece. Hey, man, you let teams that had zero business walk all over you to walk all over you. Joe, they went 6-6. They're not considered to be a team that waltzes in the SEC. They might go 8-4, but 6-6. That 6-6. They have recruited well defensively. We all know that. They fixed some things defensively. We all know that. My guy, your receivers are gone. You had guys hit the portal like Nick Anderson. I know you bring in some weapons and some guys return. But unless that offensive line really gets developed and they start working better, Joe, it's going to be a problem. I mean, like a problem. Does an offensive line get that much better in an offseason? Because I don't know if it does, man. I really don't. And so all of that being said, if Ben Arbuckle can work around it, then he's a genius. But, man, if you come in there and you try to do what you want to do and you don't have the personnel to do it in this conference or Big Ten or SEC, you will have issues.
I think the offensive line question is important to ask. And it will be the biggest anchor for them and will sink them if they don't have it just an improvement.
Without a doubt.
If they were one of the worst offensive lines in the SEC. There's only one direction for them to go. If they improve marginally, they were still able to finish 6-6 this past year. I would argue if there's just a slight improvement, it's enough for a step in the right direction for this program to continue to improve, for Venables to buy himself some time, all that good shit. The other part of that, though, is as you're talking about, if I'm bringing in a coach that's going to be able to work around bad offensive line play and not having a lot to work with, I think Ben Arbuckle is a good example of that. He had one really good offensive lineman whose name I am not going to try to pronounce. He's a Samoan name, but he opted in the portal, and he was one of the most highly regarded guys at Washington State. The rest of that offensive line, nothing.
Own something. Anyway.
I'm not a lot of great receivers either. There wasn't a lot to work with. Having bad offensive line play, the way that you get around that is getting the ball out quick, having a mobile quarterback.
To who?
Their receiver room still has Deion Burks. I mean, their receiver room is still like pretty good. I think that is not going to be an issue. It all comes down to if their offensive line and they can run the ball. They can't be like some of these other teams that were refusing to run the ball, like we kept talking about, like Texas that we kept talking about during the year.
They might not be able to run the ball, and that might be the whole problem.
And it's fair for us to bring it up. That is going to be something that we talk about the entire offseason.
Bro, the Oklahoma fans got on Jeff Lebby's ass and wanted him out. Buddy, the grass is not always greener, man. It really isn't. But John Mateer is going to be – here's what the prediction I'll make on February the 23rd, and I might walk this back. I had until the season starts to walk this back. I think John Mateer is going to be running for his godforsaken life. I really do.
You can't give him a little bit of faith?
No, it has nothing to do with him. Him running for his life really comes to a part where, listen, if teams know that you're one-dimensional, Joe, you start getting ass whooped. I mean,
that's literally what happened this year.
Literally. So you get in these third and long situations, and you better pray to God that John Mateer goes fully Johnny Manziel on people's ass. That's all I know. I mean, you want to talk about bad O-line play. How many times Johnny Manziel goes zigzag, zigzag, throw it to Mike Evans? That was the most chaotic shit ever. Hey, I'm going to zigzag, zigzag run. I'm going to throw a prayer to Mike Evans and hope he catches it.
Yeah, no one